Behind me is a 5-seater electric truck with a 5-foot bed that all fits in the exact same footprint as a 2-door Mini Cooper. And you already know that anyone driving this truck is packing around a whole lot of things because the bed is actually larger than a Rivian's. And not only is the bed size bigger, but the midgate drops down, expanding to 8 feet, holding full sheets of plywood or drywall, all within a form factor small enough to park in the compact parking stalls in a parking garage. The first time my wife saw the Tello, she called it a Hobbit truck. But considering the Hobbits were the only ones strong enough to destroy the ring, that's most definitely a compliment. I'm gonna take you inside the truck, but first I wanna show you that the front end of the truck is actually incredibly small. There's only 1 inch of front overhang in front of the wheel. There's no frunk at the front, but there's still 14 inches of crash zone. But because it's so short and has such a small footprint, getting into the truck is kind of unique. I'll come over here to the handle. This portion right here is actually a structural component of the vehicle, so they have the front driver's seat up on a pedestal. So as I'm getting inside and putting my feet through this area, there's room for me to get in the driver's seat. A little bit on the cozy side, but you know, with a small footprint, that's what happens. Quick tour of the inside. So the fabric on the dashboard and on the doors right here is something called Mizmaze, which is kind of like a rugged material. There's wool on the floor, and something I thought was super interesting is that these door panels right here are actually a soaked cork, which makes it kind of look like concrete. The whole goal of Tello is to find materials that are both sustainable but also available. One thing that I really like about this truck is that like a lot of the hardware components, like say the inverters and parts of the drivetrain, are off the shelf, meaning that it's a lot easier for them to get to market, but also it's easier for the customers to find replacement parts because they're not proprietary. It is a 5-seater vehicle, 2 seats in the front, 3 seats in the back. And just for reference, I'm about 5'11" 3/4", and I still have a little bit of room in front of my knees. And for those interested, you can fit 3 car seats in the back. One of my favorite parts though, sorry for the wind here, is that the back bed of the truck, just like with the Chevy Silverados, the back wall can drop down, extending the bed from 5 feet to 8 feet. With the press of a single button right here, it releases the back seat. Oh, that's a heavy thing. And as a little homage to another electric truck that we know, there is a pass-through, what do you call this?
The monster tunnel.
The monster tunnel.
Because it's under the bed.
I get it, dude, that's hilarious. That's amazing. This is probably the most utility that I've ever seen smashed into such a small form factor. So the payload of the bed is actually 1,700 pounds, and then back here, we have a tow hitch which can tow 6,600 pounds. Longtime viewers of the channel know that I used to drive around a Tacoma before I got my Rivian, and this basically one-ups the performance of the Tacoma on every single level, while still having a smaller footprint. There are tie-down locations here on the sidewalls, as well as L-tracks, both running along each of the sides as well as the base of the truck bed. As well, up here we have a glass roof, and I assume mounting locations for future roof racks. Coming around here to the back, we are using the NACS port, and one cool thing is that these lights, which also, you know, kind of double as daylight running lights on the back, will show and indicate how much charge level the truck has. I think that's way fun. The front has 2 windshield wipers, but instead of them flipping back and forth, there's one mounted here on this side, which gets the driver, and the other one mounted on the passenger, which has got to make driving through some rainstorms pretty interesting. How would you describe driving this?
Well, the intention of it is for it not to feel any different than driving any other vehicle.
Yeah.
We want it to be an experience that is familiar.
This is Jason, by the way. He's the founder of Tello Trucks, and he has been gracious enough to let me drive it for the first time. And it's interesting. Some electric trucks have a dashboard, you know, the size of Texas, but with this one, it feels, I don't want to say it's like driving a car. That would be not a good analogy to make, but it definitely feels like a really small truck from the driver's seat, which is a good thing if you live in a city. So Jason, as the CEO of Tello, what do you find that's the most interesting thing about starting an electric truck company?
Well, you know, we've seen the graveyard of electric vehicle companies that came over the last 10 years.
I'm just gonna keep driving your truck.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah, no, we're very aware of it, and we've been a part of many of those companies actually. But I think what's really interesting is because of like the ashes that came out of the graveyard of electric vehicles, it enables a small manufacturer like us to actually do really interesting things. Things like getting the commercial commoditized components off the shelf. It's never been possible before. Or the software that people use to develop and test vehicles has gotten incredibly good. And manufacturers are being stood up left and right to build multiple vehicles in a single plant. Like these things were just never true 5 years ago.
And you can do fun things like having the small form factor with the monster tunnel and the drop down mid gate. So there's 2 battery pack sizes. There's the standard pack, which is 260 miles of range, and then a larger pack with 350.
That's right, yep, 106 kilowatt hours.
106 kilowatt hours for the large one.
That's right.
And then we are like seriously off-roading right now, which is great. So 4-wheel drive, independent suspension, and it starts at what price?
$41,500.
That's wild. When are we estimating to see these on the roads?
Yeah, we'd love to get it in our customers' hands in 2026.
Cool, that's great.
And feel free to give it a little gas.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm being safe.
A big part of what we talk about and what we do is that we're a mini truck company first. You know, we're not another EV Me Too company that's building another electric crossover, another full-size pickup, another sedan. You know, we're building a mini truck, and it's really only possible to do that if you first make it electric.
Which is because like the size of the motors is way smaller than an engine in a gas vehicle.
Yeah, and you know, motors isn't the analogy of like a V6 engine. Really the thing to compare it against is the battery, because the battery is the heart and soul of an electric vehicle. That's why we build our own battery pack, because it defines the entire vehicle.
Nice.
So our vehicle battery pack is all about efficiency in terms of packaging. So how many kilowatts can you fit per liter of our pack? And to our knowledge, it's 50% more space efficient than another pack on the market today.
And so you guys have been working on this truck for the last 3 years.
That's right.
And what made you decide to start an electric truck company?
Yeah, so my co-founder Forrest, he was one of the original battery engineers on the Tesla team building the Roadster. And you know, we were actually both in the same shop because we were friends for a while. We'd both pole vaulted in the same high school in Washington State.
Oh, nice.
And we were both working on electric micromobility platforms, me a motorcycle, him scooter company. And we developed a bunch of really great technology, and we really kind of missed the market. And it's because we didn't really, because we kind of go heads down, we were so excited about the technology, but we weren't actually building something people wanted. So we had a come to Jesus moment. We were like, we got to go figure out what people really want in downtown cities if it's going to make a difference. And we surveyed like a couple hundred people over a single weekend and gave them all these different options of vehicle platforms, like 8 different options. 89% of them said they wanted a small truck. Even the motorcycle riders, even the people that don't have a truck right now, they were like, oh, if I had a small truck, my life would be so much easier.
Because a lot of guys I feel like have 2 vehicles. They have a larger truck to like tow things and move things, but then they have a smaller smaller car to do like the long road trips and commuter and stuff to save on gas. So having one vehicle that it can accomplish both things, I feel like is incredibly useful.
And we even find it in the commercial space. Like there's a lot of, like especially in downtown LA, downtown San Francisco, a company buys like those low-speed electric vehicles, the Polaris Gems, the UTVs, and they also buy the F-150s.
Yeah.
And they spend like $80,000 collectively on vehicle platforms that do the same job, but one goes on the highway and one goes on sidewalks.
You'd save money.
Exactly. Give it some gas. Have some fun.
I'm not gonna give it gas. No. Every time I turn the camera on, it's just back there. It's the coolest looking truck. There is 7 inches of suspension travel, 10 inches of ground clearance, and obviously the next big hurdle that the Tello truck needs to overcome is getting a factory and manufacturing. But assuming all of that goes to plan, we should start seeing these on the road in 2026. And what's interesting is the reservations are a refundable $152, which is the exact length in inches of this truck. Super cool. I'm a super huge fan of seeing these unique things happen right here in the USA. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. And thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.